right, so let's talk Pinterest and what I would do if I was just getting started or wanting to maximize every moment I have on Pinterest. What? That's crazy talk. All right, so here I have my Pinterest on the right and then my Google Analytics on the left. Let's talk about Pinterest first, and then I'm going to show you the analytics in there, and then we'll come back to Google Analytics real quickly. All right, so we need to be able to get into your analytics. And so there's two places that I look, by the way. If you're looking at just your pins and your pin stats, going into just your regular feed, what you've created, and looking, we're going to look at this for things that we pinned the day or two before. So like, for instance, this one got 4.6 thousand eyeballs on it. It's a video pin and only 9 clicks. This one got 63 clicks. And so you can see what we're going to talk about the difference between the value of a click and exposure here. And it's kind of like on Facebook where we have to, right now we have to do a little bit of balancing, but obviously the things with clicks are what we're more interested in. But anyway, so when we talk about going back and looking in a few days at how something did, you're going to get that information most easily through the feed because it won't have likely hit your best of, which is what's in your Pinterest analytics. All right. So we're going to go into business hub. Oh no, going to analytics overview. They move things around all the time. All right. So what I do here, if we're looking at our pins to Kids Activities blog, you're going to hit that. You're going to do all unless you have paid, and then okay. So and then what I want to do is I don't care about the impressions. I want to care about the link clicks. Okay. So this is now going to give me the kind of an overview of the link clicks, and then top boards. Here again, don't care about the impressions. Going into link clicks, and this is my top boards right now. Growing Creative Kids, kidsactivities.com. Ooh, that's interesting. That's taken over. And then Halloween, which makes sense because it's October. All right, but you can see how this one, 6,000 link clicks to this is 2,000 link clicks. And you can see some of these, like this Halloween for Kids, 1,000, and we probably haven't been putting as much things on these boards, but it's interesting. The more better boards perform better. So when you want to test something out or repin something that's doing well, using your good boards first can be helpful. All right, so here again, your top pins, and this is the top pins, and you can put a date range, but basically it's the last month. Here again, don't care about impressions, so we're going to go to link clicks. And this is going to be the list that you're going to repin. And this is where you're going to go, and if you're going to make new pins, make some new pins for these things first, because we know that Pinterest already likes the URL, already thinks that the subject matter is interesting to its readers. So that's where I would start on that. And this is best for, and let's see, source, there are other pins on here, but you can go in and view, like this is our top pin for the last, and this is just a really old pin. Now, one of the challenges on Pinterest, and one of the reasons why Google Analytics is so important, is that you don't get a lot of stats for repins. So obviously, if this is my top pin, I'm going to want to make sure that I repin it onto another board that's appropriate. And of course, this pin has been one of our top pins for years, so it's been repinned multiple times to a lot of boards. We don't repin anything. I mean, every 3, 4, 5 days is what we would repin to another board, but we put a lot of space and a lot of pinning in between them. I would never repin this twice to 2 boards in a row. I would give it space, air to breathe. It's already doing well. It's not going to hurt another day to wait another day or two. All right. But then what I would do is go make a new pin for this and pin, and I would probably pin that on a different day that I repin this. I don't know that Pinterest is watching the URL metrics, like how many times you pin a URL. I would suspect it does. So I would try to space out, like, let's say I made 3 new pins for this. I would space those 3 new pins out maybe every 2 or 3 days, and the repin of this within those, 2 or 3 days, so that maybe over the next week I repin this, and then I also pin it with 2 new pins. And then what I'm going to do, and here again, you don't get good stats on repins, so you'll never exactly know if that repin was really successful, other than the fact that this will stay in the top pins. But when you go back into your feed and look at those new pins you made for this, you can see, oh, one of them got 17 clicks and one of them got 0 clicks. Okay, that's the point where I'm only going to repin the better one. Okay, so I'm only going to repin. So the one that got 0 clicks, I'm not going to do anything with. The one that got 17 clicks, I'm going to repin to another board in another 2 days, and then I'll come back and reassess, if that makes sense. All right, so that's what we do on Pinterest. That's how I use Pinterest analytics, is going through and making sure. I can't even believe, oh, that is a new pin. Some of these are so old, they're awful. But that's why Pinterest isn't all about new pins. And please notice that we have zero video pins in our top clicked pins. So that's a game we're playing right now that I think we're losing. I think everybody's losing. All right, now I'm going to go back, and these are my top pins this last week. And a lot of times I'll compare these with that, and they're not always the same. These is very different data than this. So that's good to know, so that you can keep up with what's trending, making new pins for things that make sense, repinning other people's pins of your stuff that's doing well and stuff like that. But what's even more helpful in this is I can go search last October and see what my top pins were, repin those, and make new pins for those as well. Because sometimes, like October 2 years ago and October 3 years ago may have different top pins than this October and this and so forth. So that's where I get started, instead of just going and randomly making new pins for every single blog post that you have, which would take us forever. Make a list of, like, if you're going to make 5 pins a day, or you're going to whatever you're. And by the way, we're pinning. I think we're pinning about 20 things a day. It may be a little bit more than that. Probably 5 or 8 are those are new pins. And it's going to depend on whether my team has time or not, and how much new content we have that in as well. So, and we don't pin everything, by the way. We only pin things that we think are going to do well on Pinterest. We've gotten pickier about that. And not just like we have an ugly pin out there right now, but it's because we have a sponsored post. But for right now, for the most part, most of our ugly pins are either old and doing well, or we're not pinning them. So, but it's not always about beauty. It's about those stats. So looking at that. So if you were like, hey, I'm going to pin 20 things a day or 10 things a day, and I know some of the super pinners are pinning less and less and less every day. So it's fine to say, hey, we're gonna pin 5 things a day. That's and just see how it goes. So find that number, and then it's easier for you to look and say, okay, in order for me to pin 10 a day, I need to find my top 30 posts in October, and then make some new pins, and then you can see how, like, one pin, if you repin it from the old source and make 2 new pins, that's a whole week. So you really don't need as many as you think you do. So you'd really only need, like, you'd be doing like kind of 5 blog posts a day that are in this rotation eventually. So that's where a spreadsheet comes in. And one of the ways that, and I'll show you my old Pinterest spreadsheet, by the way, which I think is helpful sometimes for people to see this. And we basically set Airtable up. Is this it? No, this is, I'm sorry, that's not it. Da, 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 da. I have so much stuff in here. Pinterest, schedule. I don't even know if this is it or not. Yes, this is it. Okay. So this can be just be helpful, you know, just to show you kind of the thought process, is that here's the pin URL. This is something that, you know, then I would say, okay, if this pin did well, I want to repin it on these 6 boards over time. And so, and when, in my case, and this is a super old, I know Lori's freaking out right now because this is such a poor use of a spreadsheet. But I used to just change it from a 0, an O to an X or something like that. But basically what it was is it made it easy when I was going in to pin 5 things. I would just look and see, you know, what things needed to be pinned. And I would just go through and pin those 5 things. And if you have the boards that, so like, for instance, let's just look at what this is. This is an old pin. So top 10 reading resources. So when we go back in here, you can see that this is going to work for all things parenting board. It's going to work for not craft ideas. I can't, homeschool ideas, homeschooling with heart. So anyway, I was just, so this is going to be good for like 4 of my boards. And so it's going to take, you know, when I go to that, I can go in and then on the first day, go to one board, 3 days later, go to another board, 3 days later, go to another board. So that's just how, like, I would just, when I came up with a pin that did, you know, meet my criteria, it was above average. So we made a new pin, it's above average. I'm going to put the URL in there and then chart out a course of what other boards this could go to if it continues to do well. All right, so I think that's enough for you to get started. If there's anything that like I left just kind of hanging, let me know. But the bottom line is maximizing things that you already have going on and did in the past that were super successful on Pinterest, and reviving those, repinning those, and then choosing to make some new pins associated with those URLs first before you start branching off into stuff that Pinterest never really liked that much.